Hello all, Seriously is here. Welcome to my No Man's Sky Shipyards 2025 Corvette calendar. We're going to do a tour of a bunch of my Corvettes from the year 2025. We did not have the Corvette update the entire year, so we're not necessarily going to link these to any specific month. As you can see, I don't have a Corvette in this save. We're going to start off with a Corvette I based on this save's freighter. So we're going to go take a look at the freighter first, and then we're going to pause the game and switch over to the Corvette on the save that I built it on, because I was not going to collect enough parts to build this Oculus system freighter as a Corvette in normal mode, which this save is. So I did it in creative, and this might be a bit loud. Not too bad. Alright, let's switch over to the other save. And here we are at the Oculus Corvette instead of the Oculus system freighter. Let's hop into the seat. We'll take a very, very quick tour of the insides in a moment. They're a bit of a mess. This is more of an aesthetic build. It's not supposed to be a practical freighter, but I think we captured a very good likeness. It's pretty obvious what we've built right away. So as you can see, inside, very bare bones, not decorated at all. And it's a hodgepodge to navigate, just to get in and out to the main hatch. And it is such a big freighter that we're going to have to not just get rid of vignette for camera mode, but change our field of view from 75 all the way up to the nice 100 so we can get the nice. See, if you back up, we go into shadows. If you go 100% field of view or greater, you can get nice and close and get a nice big freighter shot in there. Alright, so that is our first one. And we will be right back with the next. And here we are on board the Broadsword. This is one of the first Corvettes I built after I had learned what we were doing with building Corvettes. We'll get into one of the first Corvettes I built a bit later, but this is my first one built for style, and I wanted to build one that looked like a hot rod fighter. I didn't fully succeed, and that's how it got its name, and we'll show it from the outside. But as you can see, there's a lot of space for storage containers here. So this is a fully upgraded ship. It has everything you could need on the inside. All of the 10 storage containers are somewhere. Cockpit is easily accessible from the landing bay with one stairway. I find this very helpful in my Corvettes for speed and ease of use. Let's go for a flight. And this is what we're working with on the Broadsword. It got much wider than I had anticipated. It is basically what I had intended to do. I just didn't realize how thick it would get, but I quite like it still, and I'm very happy with the finished output. We can move the sun. Get a look at the bottom side there. a little bit flat. As I had said, this is one of my earlier Corvettes. I've done a lot more work on the bottoms as we progressed in our build capabilities and sensibilities. But this one was the proof of concept for our next ship that we're going to get into right away. A lot of the lessons learned in building the Broadsword went into our next ship. So let's get to that one. And here we are aboard the Starcutter, a much smaller version of our Hot Rod Fighter Corvette design. We'll start with the interiors. As you can see, we have a much more stylish pick. And again, stairs right down to the landing bay. Very important, even tighter, less room to run around, less room to get lost in. A little bit less room for storage and stuff and things here. We have 6 storages, I believe, maybe 8? No, just the 6 storages on the Starcutter, but that's fine. We have access to all of them. And I prefer the nice, tight design a lot better. So this is what we're working with on the Starcutter. As you can see, shorter nose, thinner nose. I've also offset the bottom a little bit to give it a, let's see if we can get that sun behind it. A little bit more of a pointy beak. All of the best upgrades installed, merged in, so that I like how they look. A couple of shield upgrades as well, even. So yeah, much smaller and more compact. Very good maneuverability on all the ships I build because I build them to fly, not just to look pretty. Although we do have some that are just for looks. We'll get into those in a little bit. But from here, we're going to get into, yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's go and look at a ship built for the looks. Be right back. Hello, here we are aboard the Star Barge, an airship design that I have built just to look pretty, but it's also obviously still functional. You can see landing bay, cockpit, bottom floor, and then everything decorative is upstairs. One of the first builds I did a lot of interior design. It's one of the first builds I actually had enough room to do an interior design on. I put some plants into these planters because for the player who builds them, these plants seem to never, they're here. I can harvest these standing planters, but the plants never show up. So I wanted it to look green like when I built them. So I put some plants in. I'm sure you can hear it already. We have a nice sitting area with a fireplace and a rock feature. Right near our medical bay and repair station. Up on the main deck, we have open air to the stars. Some wires that we're going to pretend are holding our air balloon engines. And a little steering wheel for us to steer from, although we can't drive it from out here, unfortunately. It's a shame. We can, however, take fun pictures of us flying the ship. So let's go fly the ship. Take a peek from the outside. how does an airship look? There we are. So, very happy with the final output for this one, but it's not too practical of a ship to be running around in at all times. So, let's take a peek at one that's also, well, no, it's a lot more practical. In fact, it's the only purpose of that one was practicality, and some new parts had come out, so let's take a peek at that one. So here we are aboard the Stingray. Built this one shortly after the Breach expedition had come out, and I built it for practical purposes. I was testing out the new phase beam array and mounting multiple phase beams to get super duper effects and huge damage in an instant, and it works phenomenally. So this ship is outfitted fully, has lots of areas for stuff and things. Could be decorated more thoroughly, but it was a bunch of practical choices in this one. We wanted all of the storages, or as many of the storages as we could fit. We wanted refiners and stuff like that as well, and flowers. Yeah, all of the stuff and or things. Design-wise, the Breach expedition had just come out, so we put to use a lot of the new Corvette parts, as you can tell, which gave this one a red and gray theme, which I do like those colors. However, it is the one downside of the Aeron parts is that they feature a heavy red bias. They have red parts, red glow that cannot be removed, and even if you do make them other colors, they're also very gray or black themed as well. So red and black or red and gray seem to be your big choices for that. And I think we have pretty good combination of parts for red and black, or red and gray I should say. So there we are. And I suppose while we're here, we can switch to the phase beams. You can see all 7 or 8, I can't remember exactly how many I merged in at once, fire at the same time. And even though the heat, the thermal load, no matter what you or how long you hold it down, it will never get to max because they can only fire for a set amount of time before they cut out on their own. I'm not letting go of the button there, they're letting go. But that short burst of time is enough to blow up multiple Sentinel Dreadnought freighters themselves. You do not need, that will blow up a starship. That's all you need. It is a phenomenal amount of damage. But the practical ship isn't always my favorite ship. So we're gonna go and take a peek at another one. So here we are aboard the Asp, a Corvette I built based on the previous one. Sort of like another ship where I got ideas and inspiration from my previous build and decided to refine it and do it in a style that I preferred. Let's take a peek at the interior of the Asp. It's a lot smaller, a lot tighter, less components. There's only one habitation room and a cockpit. But this is one of my favorite Corvettes. I've been running this one exclusively on the Corvette saves that I did last year, and we got a new Corvette save that we'll be doing this year. We haven't built the Corvette for that yet. We just ran the Corvette Expedition in it. So hopefully we'll come up with something stylish like we did for this one here. Very much like the shape and these parts that came with the Breach Expedition update that were not rewards from the Breach Expedition were really, really cool. They very much remind me of the Corvette cars, like the Corvette Stingray. Love the curvy design of them. So I had to build a ship using those. As you can see, a little bit more work has been done on getting rid of the basic flat bottoms. Some designs, some style, thought goes into it these days. And I called this one the Asp because from above it sort of reminds me of the old G.I. Joe bad guy symbol for Cobra. Anyway, interesting shape. I really like it a lot. Love the metallic red color as well. Looks like red velvet in the sunlight. But let's move on to my legacy save and what just happened to be some Star Trek themed builds. Hello again. This is my legacy save. The glitch that we had where stuff would disappear off your walls, I had a bunch of furniture up here built and it all disappeared. That is how old this Corvette is. I haven't been on the legacy save doing the Corvette stuff in a while, but this is one of the first Corvettes I built, and it just evolved as I found more and more parts into a ship that looks sort of like the Enterprise. We'll get to that in a second. Let's take a peek at the interior here. So as you can see, stairway to the entrance ramp. Very important to have direct access for me. I don't like getting lost, but we have tons of room for all of our storages on this Corvette. Stuff under the stairs seems to help too. And a little cozy breakfast nook and sleeping area looking out at the back window. But let's take it for a flight and see what I'm talking about when I say it sort of looks like the Enterprise. Now unfortunately, the design does not lend itself too well to first-person flight. As you can see, we're blocked in here. I've got a couple Corvettes like this, and it is not my favorite, but I fly almost everything in third person anyway. So here we are. I did go with the metallic color instead of the non-metallic, which would have given us a more white look, but I wasn't at the time trying to emulate a Star Trek ship. It just sort of evolved that way over time, and I never changed the metallic off because I really do like the metallic gleam in the gray and black color. As you can see, our cockpit is hidden right there. That's why it's got parts sticking through. But we can sit down, we can operate it. This is fully functional. And after this design had come together, I thought, you know what, I bet I can build an intentional Star Trek ship or two. And there's a lot of fertile ground there for choices. And I bet I can do better. I had not yet at this point learned how to do perfect circles, well, free placement circles. And I did do a free placement circle build that we'll get to, but I didn't use it for a saucer section of a Starfleet ship. So next up, we have a Star Trek bad guy ship. See you there. So here we are aboard the Derelict, a Starship Corvette based off of the Star Trek Next Generation Romulan Warbird, the Derricks. I don't know how to say the name, but it's got the apostrophe in the name, so I thought Derelict sounds pretty cool. We'll go with that. Let's see what this ship looks like. You can see right here at the top, I've learned my lesson. For big, huge Corvettes, I have an access hatch with stairs. There isn't anything covering it up, so it's just open to space, but that's okay. I did not want to have to go down this many flights of stairs every time I wanted to get in and out, but I did want a livable ship with all the stuff and or things. So we've got storages and stuff along the way as we go down to the landing bay at the back. But this ship is, again, all about the aesthetics. It was not intended to be a daily flyer. It was, can I build a Romulan Warbird? And I think the answer is yes. I'm pretty happy with the design. One of my favorite Corvettes that I've built. Lots of parts, 100 parts in this one, or I think actually 99 Corvette parts in this one. And over 100 regular parts, mostly 50 or 60 of them as pill lights on the warp nacelles there on the side. But it's got a distinct style I think is fairly recognizable. I'm pretty happy with the turnout. If I had known about how to do better base settlement glitching, I probably could have got this nose to look even better by putting some parts vertically, but that takes a little bit more effort than I'm willing to put into a Corvette. And again, this was built when I only knew about part shifting and part reversal. As you can see, some of these nacelles are built with backwards thrusters merged together with forwards thrusters. Yeah, very, very happy with our Romulan Warbird. If only we had a cloaking device. And next up, we have another Star Trek bad guy ship. See you there. And here we are aboard a ship you'll probably be able to recognize pretty much instantly just because of the proliferation of these things. Yes, I built a Borg cube, and it is huge, and it's a maze, so I specifically cut it up into sections so that we can't access the entirety of the cube. We can, however, access a big open section in the middle, which I think is pretty cool, so I gave it some extra decoration and stuff and things. We can take a peek at that open section from above. This is a 7-story Corvette, so there's a lot of walking around to do, and it is a 4 cubes by 4 cubes wide, habitation cubes that is. So there is a lot of available area to seal in. I used these to block doorways. Give more space for Borg drones too. We missed window. Let's go back down. There's the window looking out over the area we were in. And this is not the pilot seat, just a window. Let's get into our pilot seat and take our Borg cube for a flight. You would think, just a box. There's not a lot of artistry to be done to just a box. But that's the thing with the Borg cube, is you sort of got to make more than just a box. And I hope I've accomplished that. Pretty simple design overall, but as you can see, all these habitation units on this side are completely inaccessible internally. I kept it all just to this column here, so it's just 7 stories of habs to walk up and down. And again, same as the Romulan Warbird. Learned my lesson. We need easy access. I'm not walking up 7 flights of stairs. I'm going to jetpack to the top and walk down 1 flight of stairs. Much easier. Yeah, there's our Borg cube. And finishing off, this one got me off of the Star Trek kick, although there are a lot more cool Star Trek ships that I could still build. I have an idea for one, but we don't know if we'll get to that in 2026. In the meantime, let's get into some of my fancier designs from this year and some of my favorite designs from this year. So let's start the last section now. So here we are aboard the Golden Diamond, a Corvette again that I blocked in the cockpit so you can't see in first person mode, but this was again a more aesthetic design choice. I wanted a ship to see if I could make it look like a diamond shaped in all some symmetries. We got all of the basic stuff and or things that we had have in a Corvette, but it's very small on the inside, not even worth switching to first person mode for. So here we go. Here is our Golden Diamond Corvette. The only part sticking out is the cockpit at the bottom, little teeny bit on the front bottom side there. But other than that, we have some good symmetry. The landing bay is a little absent part here. As you can see, it comes down through there. It is tricky to get in and out, but it is possible. As you can see, I'm in the ship flying it, so I was able to get in and or out without having to go to a planet, call it in, and use the landing gear, the landing teleporter. This ship looks fantastic in basically any colors, but I settled on gold because I didn't really have a gold colored Corvette yet, and the metallic really helps it shine. So yeah, I wanted to build a diamond Corvette. And of course, since it's gold, we have gold colored thrusters as well. Nice and simple, except for building it was tricky, but a very simple look and layout once it's complete. Alright, and from one shape to another, we'll be right back with the next one. And here we are aboard the Unidentified, my UFO build. We're in a circle build, and it's the one I got done for making things, making it look good instead of just at the shape like the diamond. We've got some decoration in here. I tried to get all the techie parts to look very alien and bizarre because we're in a UFO after all, but still make it practical. We have storage containers all over the place merged into the walls. We've got our refiner, we've got our mission radar, we've even got sleeping quarters and a nutrient processor. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for the UFO's look, and it is a really cool look. Nice perfect circle, purple and yellow. We have the classic alien tractor beam underneath. And you might notice some blue smoke coming out too, which I think lets us do some really fun stuff. Like if we were to go forward very, very, very slow, we can leave trails. If we go slow enough, just spin around. can get some really cool stuff going on here in a screenshot. Although it sort of makes it hard to target the ship when you're at a weird angle in a screenshot mode. This is definitely one of my favorite builds of the year. Very happy with how it turned out. Putting a lot of the things I learned over the year to use. The free placement method is how we got this circle built. All of these Corvettes, you can watch me have started the process at least and done most of the building on the Shipyards series. Go back to the previous videos in that series and we can take a peek at those. But next, I've never done this before. Can we get out of the seat while we're landing? Apparently we can. We're gonna go to the final build of the year, our Christmas star. So see you in just a second. And here we are, inside the fireball. You can hear the fires raging. You can see its tight quarters. This is a complete tour of the insides. It's as small as can be, my only micro Corvette build. But it is a Meteor, a flaming fireball. If we go slow enough, we can even get some cool smoke trails. Even though half the ship is smoke trails built with the Wonder Projector, using our volcanic planet rock formations. Some flaming barrels on the front. Makes for some really fun effects. In fact, let's take this guy in for a landing. It looks really fun landing on a space station, because you get the flame trails following you. Yeah, we have one more seasonal Corvette to showcase, I suppose. Go into a count of 13. So we'll go and get that one loaded up for just a second. But that's basically it for the year. So 1 sec longer. Well, from a fireball, here we are on a frozen heck hole of a planet with our winter toboggan Corvette. I thought we would go out of atmosphere and wave goodbye for 2025 Corvette building on a nice frozen planet for our toboggan ride. We stopped right on the edge of the water. Look at that. A flyable toboggan. This was a nice simple one we did for the Christmas video last week. I thought we'd throw it in even though we already had 12 Corvettes lined up for a calendar. Oh, perfect timing, suit lady. I waited about 3 minutes in between the pause there to see if we could get the storm to end, but it didn't want to. And then I thought, you know, a winter storm is not unheard of for a toboggan ride, but there we go. Perfect timing. All right, see you all in 2026 for some more Corvettes. Till next time, have a good time.